I'm about to piss y'all off, but rich people should not comment on food stamps. People who think that they were poor but didn't qualify for food stamps should not comment on food stamps. And anybody who is not on food stamps should not comment on food stamps. Have you ever lived in a food desert where the closest store to you is the corner store and they sell nothing but junk food and there's no transportation near you to get to healthy food or fruits and vegetables? Have you ever had to feed a family of 4 with only $400 worth of food stamps and try to buy anything but junk food? Hell, have you even tried to feed a family of 2 with $400 a month and been successful? Them telling people who are on food stamps that they're not allowed to buy junk food is going to leave a lot of families and children starving because the only thing they have access to is junk food. I know this is hard for y'all to understand, but in most areas where people are living in poverty, they don't have access to a Whole Foods. Like, there's not a lot of access to fresh groceries. People are not shipping fresh groceries to the hood. I don't know where y'all got this theory from. Imagine you going to work every day and somebody telling you how to spend your paycheck. And before y'all say that the people who are on food stamps don't have a job, more than half of the people who have at least one able-bodied adult in their household is working while receiving food stamps. And the average American is paying about $326 annually towards the SNAP program. That's less than $1 a day. And I'm not saying every dollar don't count, but have y'all seen how much y'all are paying in taxes towards war? To fund wars? Stop trying to tell people who are impoverished how to live when they literally have pennies to survive. We just stop. Just let people do what they need to do for their family. And before y'all start talking about food stamp fraud, less than 1% of food stamp recipients are committing fraud. Like, it's just, I'm just spitting facts. So while Tia or Tamera Mowry, whichever one of their white husbands, is getting on the internet to tell everybody that he used to see people waste their food stamps while he slept in one room and had to sell his baseball cards. Sir, some people can't afford baseball cards. Some people don't have baseball cards to sell. Now let's move on.
Tamera Buki, they said come get your husband because he lying about food stamps. Y'all, they on Twitter calling her Tamaga. So Tamera's husband, Adam Housley, has been on Twitter like fighting for his life about food stamps. Now, just below, Unusual Whale had posted a story about how the Trump administration is pushing to stop individuals who get food stamps from buying junk food. And if you want the details about that whole restriction on food stamp benefits, watch the story right here. We posted about it yesterday. Now, Adam replies to that story and says, as a kid who grew up in a neighborhood grocery store since I was 5, I can't tell you how many times I saw people come in and buy crap food for their kids with food stamps, then open their wallet and use cash for liquor, beer, wine, and cigarettes. Then there were those who would repeatedly buy a lemon or lime, get the change, walk out the door, throw them away, and do it again until they had enough change to buy cigarettes or liquor. As a kid, it would pee me off because there are some people who could really use the help, and there are these others working the system. And of course, you know the internet did not take kindly to him talking about poor people problems. He continued his food stamp rant and said, what people need to understand is that there is an absolute need for assistance in this country, and we should absolutely provide it. And as part of that, help people get off of it with proper training and support. Unfortunately, the system has been corrupted. In California, it's badly corrupted. Then he was just going through his comment section, replying back to people. And you could pause to read this, but basically he said he had worked at the grocery store that his parents owned as a kid while he was playing professional baseball for 20 years, because people were arguing that food stamps never came in cash form. They came in cash form. And if you broke a 5, 10, or $1 bill in food stamps, you got cash back. Now, the people in the comments was like, Tamara's never beaten those allegations. And this is from that meme where she said somebody called her a white man's. And another person had noted, this is why Tia don't talk to Tamara now. I feel like there's some undertones to that too. Of course, you guys know we talked about that story. We broke that story like 2 years ago when Beyonce had sent Tia her Ivy Park collection, but she didn't send it to Tamara. And everybody was like, yo, why would Beyonce split the twins up? And that's really where everyone started talking about, do they even talk to each other anymore? They don't. Then Tia confirmed it on her reality show where she said she wished her and her sister had their old relationship back, but she didn't go into detail as to why they don't really talk to each other, connect with each other anymore. And a lot of people had said on the internet years before we had broke that story that it had something to do with Adam Housley, Tamara's husband. Another person had noted an article that had referenced Tia and Tamara. They had sat down for Our Lifestyle magazine, I think this was, and it said that Adam is a sixth generation from the Bay Area and was born and raised in wine country, growing up with a vineyard in his front yard. So Adam was basically talking about how he had worked himself to the bone as a child, and other people noted, no, you didn't. Your family grew up in Napa Valley, very wealthy. And shout out to the neighborhood publicist, because yeah, this is why people call her Tamaga. This is why. Because look what you married.
And see, this is why I don't feel bad for Tamara Mowry when people call her the white man's whore. Because Tamara Mowry is married to a blatant, unapologetic racist. And you cannot convince me that they don't share the same politics. Like, they're cut from the same fucking cloth. And it's just funny to me because y'all study talking about, oh, you can always tell when a biracial has a white mom. But yet Tamara Mowry is a biracial woman with a dark-skinned black mother, and she's still married to a racist. Like, this narrative that biracial people with black moms are more in tune with their blackness is a lie. It is a fallacy. And I truly believe that this false narrative was created by black women who are down for the swirl, who also want to avoid holding their white partners accountable for racism and bigotry. And let's be very clear, the reason why people was calling you a bed wench and the white man's whore is because your husband is racist, not because he's fucking white. Tamera Mowry is a conventionally attractive light-skinned woman in Hollywood. She can have any man that she wants. Yet she chose to marry this ugly ass white racist bigot who claims that he didn't even know who the fuck she was. Now, I did not know that the term bed wench was a derogatory term used to describe the women that were being raped during slavery. But unlike our ancestors, Tamera Mowry has a choice, and she made her decision. She chose white supremacy and racism over her community. It's forever fuck her for that.
Tamara's husband, that dude is lying. Because he grew up in Napa Valley. Ain't no poor people in Napa Valley. That's not only one of the wealthiest places in the world, that's one of the most popular tourist places in the world. So he told this story to fit a racist narrative, to fit a stereotype. And even if this story is true, so low income kids, they don't deserve to eat junk food or snack, nothing but healthy food. Last time I checked, there's no Whole Foods in low income areas. Then this man goes on to degrade a group of people. He didn't say person, he said people. These people used to use their food stamps to buy a lime, and off the change of that lime, they'll throw the limes away, come back in the store and buy cigarettes. The whole group, not just one person. Look how untrustworthy they are. And then y'all see Tamara when she tried to defend him. Yeah, he ain't racist. Why they gotta get all extra with it? You know who you aligned yourself with. You don't have to convince us. And then anyways, people should be able to spend those snaps, those stamps on whatever they could buy with it.
So they're considering passing a law in America where people that receive SNAP benefits are not allowed to buy junk food. Now, I know a lot of privileged individuals are like, yeah, that's good. They don't need to be purchasing that anyways. That's not healthy. They need to do better anyways. That's a good thing. Pass it. Let me give you a take your overprivileged ASS would never even consider or think about, because you never had to think in this way in your life, and you should be very thankful and blessed for that. A lot of individuals that has parents in the hood, those parents have addictions, okay? So obviously the SNAP benefits are being abused in a way that's not benefiting the children. Not only will this law put the mom and pop shops, as we call it, corner stores in Chicago, out of business, this will also leave a lot of children starving. Half the time, the only time those kids will get a real something to eat is from those snacks that that parent will buy them when that link first drops on the first of the month or whatever day it come on. After that, said parents are going to sell those stamps to support said habits. Most of the time, the eldest sibling has to wait and watch until said parents fall asleep or over messed up off whatever substance of choice they use to abuse. Sneak and take that link card, go to the corner store, and get snacks for their siblings to put something on their stomach. Now, I know you're thinking like, why not go buy a hot meal? Why not buy something to cook this, that, and the third? Half the time in the summertime, most of the parents in the hood, they don't pay their their gas bill. So there is no gas stove working to even cook a meal. Additionally, if said older sibling get caught by sneaking the link card, they would get punished. Okay, so they would have to hide those snacks. Okay? And let the parent think and assume like, oh, dang, I overspent, or, oh, well, I sold too many stamps, this, that, and the third. So come up off of your high horse. Okay? Come off your high horse and comprehend that a lot of these kids, because they're just kids, a lot of these kids will be affected. And even if they're not using said SNAP benefits, when they hustle up some money from like the neighborhood D-boys, they give them a couple of dollars. The plug pull up, he throwing a couple of dollars to the kids, this, that, and the third in the hood. The mom and pop shops won't be able to survive, people not being able to buy junk from their stores. So they'll be closed down. So they wouldn't even be able to go to the local corner store to get anything to eat. Okay? So come up off your high horse, okay? Thank you.
I've been seeing several videos that have actually gone viral, and people are talking about now all the lazy people who get food stamps and Section 8. Now, instead of buying all that weave, instead of buying all them rims, now you got to get off your lazy behind and work. What makes you think that people who get Section 8 and food stamps right now don't already work? And why they got to be lazy? That's not true. That is definitely not always the case. Most of the women, the single mothers who get Section 8, they work every day. They work hard every day. And even with the income from their jobs, they still need the help from the Section 8 in order for their children to live in a decent 3 or 4 bedroom home. Because most of them need a 3 or 4 bedroom. And it's expensive for them to do that. They not lazy. And as far as food stamps, same thing. What makes you think that everybody that get food stamps is lazy and they don't work? As a young single mother in the 90s, I was getting food stamps, and I'm not ashamed of that. And I was working 2 jobs. I was working as a maid and I was working as a waitress. And even though I made decent money as a waitress, because back then I was half cute, so I used to get a lot of money in tips, I still struggled. I still needed the help from the food stamps to help us to survive. But I didn't stay there. When I was 28, I went to the library and I rented 3 books on how to sell. And I read those books and I started selling. I started selling long distance service. I started selling timeshares for Marriott, became an 8-time award-winning sales rep for Marriott. So I've always had dreams and ambitions. Just because I was getting food stamps, that didn't mean that I was sorry or I was some sort of scrub. You don't know what type of dreams and hopes these people who get this assistance have. You don't know that. You can't judge that. And you better be careful trying to judge it, because one thing about tables, they turn. And the Bible says, judge no thing before it's time.
The spirit of Tamera has never called upon me because I never want to be embarrassed like Tamera. Because see, when I found out Tamera's husband was an anchor at Fox, that was enough for me to know exactly what kind of man that was. Then, of course, we found out what he really felt about Trayvon Martin. Now we fast forward 10 years later, he's getting up here on Twitter talking about how he was raised in the grocery store. And he watched as these poor people would buy their children junk food with food stamps, but would buy their alcohol and cigarettes with cash. How dare they? This is something that actually frustrates me so much. And so I'm actually finna dig in that ass real quick. But not just his, anybody else's that has this mindset. If you're not aware where this rant that he decided to come up on come from, is because Trump is essentially saying that he wants to limit the type of purchases people can make with their food stamps. I need y'all to hear me loud and clear. What somebody does with their food stamps is their business. I don't care if they go to the store with $100 of food stamps and buy nothing but fruit roll-ups and milk. If you have never been on food stamps, let me even take it back. If you have never qualified for food stamps, I don't give a fuck what you got to say. And I mean that in the most disrespectful way. You people who get on here on your high horse and try to tell poor people how to live are nothing but elitist assholes. And y'all have no idea, y'all have no empathy for what it's like for somebody to not have no fucking money to buy food. Let's make it very clear. People who are on food stamps are on food stamps because they cannot afford food. And you want to sit here and police what the fuck they buy with their own goddamn money. This idea that poor people don't deserve luxuries, don't deserve happiness, don't deserve pockets full of sunshine is pissing me clean the fuck off. Because I bet you his big ass be wanting something sweet after he didn't ate some brickle-brackle, don't he? Nobody ever wants to talk about the disparities in these lower income communities, why we have food deserts, why these people can't afford food in the first place. No, you want to talk about what they're buying with their food stamps. Because I promise you, as a mother, if you think for a second that the average mother who is on food stamps is not purchasing food that is substantial enough to make sure that their children are fed, you are out your fucking mind. People have this misconception that people are poor because they're lazy and they don't do anything and that they're irresponsible, when that's not the case. A lot of people are poor because they live in America and we are a capitalist society. And the only way we can have that top little tiny 1% of rich motherfuckers is because we have a whole lot of poor motherfuckers. That is the model of capitalism. It only works if we have the majority of people living below the poverty line. And you bitches in the middle class are the ones blaming the people below you for the problems that these motherfuckers started. You are the stupid one. You are the dumb one. You are the irresponsible one. Not them. There shouldn't even be a job that exists that does not pay a living wage. But bitch, that's just too goddamn close to the right thing to do, America. So what happens? People gotta rely on government assistance. Purchasing food for your family, whether it be sweets, whether it be junk food, whether it be soda, cereal, pop, cookies, ice cream, whether it's leafy greens, a pack of pizza, or some gum, is not a luxury and it's not a privilege. And it don't got shit to do with you. Y'all are on a fast track to eugenics.
Can you imagine that you and your family are experiencing one of the hardest times that you ever have in your life, and you happen to lean on the government and need some type of economic assistance, specifically food stamps? Then people judging and criticizing you on what you're spending this particular money for and what type of nutritional value the items of food that you're purchasing have. I have a lot to say about Trump's administration and how he wants to limit on the type of purchases that families are able to make with their SNAP benefits. And my opinions are fine, but let's make this educational. From a social worker standpoint, limiting the types of food that can be purchased using SNAP benefits is unethical for several reasons. For the purposes of today's videos, I'll break it down into a couple though. I broke mine down into 6 categories that mean the most to me specifically. Obviously, do what you will with this information. My top 6 are violation of autonomy and dignity, reinforcement of classism and stigma, disproportionate impact on marginalized communities, no evidence that restrictions improve nutrition, increased bureaucratic and economic burdens, and last but not least, it distracts from the root cause of food insecurity. Violation of autonomy and dignity consists of exactly what it sounds like. As social workers, we oftentimes fight for people and their right to choose, and that's not limited, specific on the situation. That comes down to something as specific as food. Restricting food choices for SNAP recipients reinforces the idea that low-income families that are on this specific program are not responsible enough to make smart decisions when it comes to food. I might add that it is stigmatizing and patronizing. And then it doubles down on the reinforcement of classism and stigma. And I feel like we have enough of that here in the United States, but sure, why not introduce that even more? Because that's clearly what we need in these times. Restricting food choices sends a message that low-income individuals deserve less freedom and fewer choices than people that can actually afford to buy the food that they're purchasing. It creates an unnecessary distinction between deserving and undeserving poor people, reinforcing stereotypes that people on assistance programs make poor choices. Let's unpack how it's disproportionate amongst marginalized communities. This has been an ongoing thing within communities, even when it comes down to things such as accessing food shelves, the limited options that they have available there. Whenever you see like food assistance programs, meals, or shop location, typically it's the same things that you're able to get, right? It's typically like eggs, milk, meat, bread. But aside from that, you're not really getting much. Maybe some canned food such as beans or a couple of vegetables. Limiting food options exacerbates existing health disparities by making it harder for people to access culturally appropriate food. including but not limited those that are affordable and nutritious. One of the major ones that really stick out to me is the fact that there's no evidence that the restrictions of foods improve nutrition at all. And so I really want to know where they're pulling the information or the data that would suggest that them limiting the options of food available to be purchased by SNAP would overall be beneficial nutritionally. If anything, it would create barriers to adequate nutrition by limiting what families could buy. Desserts where fresh and healthy options may already be scarce. Social workers should be advocating for policy based on evidence, and the research suggests that expanding access to fresh foods and education and not restricting choices. Increased economic burdens. Implementing food restrictions would increase administrative costs, not only for the recipients of SNAP benefits, but also their retailers. This could lead to delays of benefits and confusion at checkouts. Also, one of the biggest ones for me would be basic humiliation. Being at checkout, not knowing what your benefits cover, people standing in line behind you, and you just being embarrassed. Or maybe being forced to purchase something that your stamps don't cover, knowing that you can't really afford that, but the stigma. Keep in mind that these families are already going through a financial hardship as is. So why would you want to astrobate that and add on to an already hard issue? And lastly, it distracts from the root cause of food insecurity. What is that, you ask, Jamie Lee? What is the root cause of food insecurity? I don't know, just the basics. Low wages, lack of affordable housing, and systematic poverty, just to name a couple. As social workers, we should be fighting for the root causes that overall contributes to the systematic disadvantages that systems have. We are advocating for systematic solutions rather than punitive measures. In short, ultimately, from a social work perspective, food restrictions on SNAP dehumanize recipients, reinforce harmful stereotypes, fail to address larger systematic issues. A more ethical approach would be to ensure that all individuals have access to nutritious and affordable food. There's a take. Another take is, instead of changing the things that people need and assuming what people need, how about we ask people what they need and what they have access to? We have a lot of decision makers that have never been on SNAP benefits a day in their life, making assumptions on what would be the most beneficial for the greater good of the communities that they're serving. Personally, me, that pisses me off. So any opportunity that I have to make changes, any opportunity that I have to advocate those that can't really necessarily advocate for themselves, I'm going to do it every single time. And I implore you to do it the same. We're in a day and age where we don't have a lot of say on the things that are going on. And if this TikTok is just that, I'm going to do it and I'm going to say it every single time. Thank you for listening. And remember that if you're in spaces that people don't have the privilege to be in, it is your job and it's your duty as a social worker to speak up for those marginalized communities, because that is what you are precisely there for.
I'm convinced that some of y'all will have every single thing in the world that money can buy, and you will still be jealous of the next person. You will still be jealous of somebody that has less than you. Why on God's green earth are you jealous of somebody that gets food stamps? Now, I understand food stamps are great. I hate spending cash on food because I used to get food stamps, but goddamn, going as far as saying you hope people that sell their food stamps go to jail is diabolical to me. Going as far as saying because you pay taxes, you're funding somebody else's lifestyle is beyond me. You're jealous of somebody that has less than you, yet you're a homeowner. Y'all keep saying, well, I have 3 kids and I work a job and I don't qualify for food stamps. They say I make too much. Okay, you make too much. That's good. I've never seen so many people get so upset about not qualifying for something because of their income. You make too much money. How is that a bad thing?
Finally, you get to see the true America. The stipulation has always been that black people are lazy, that black people are on welfare. Well, guess what? A lot of poor white people in the red states are now crying that they're not getting the EBT money from the EBT cards. Why? Because they are on welfare. They have 7 and 8 kids. Now the truth is coming out since Trump has slashed funding for the EBT and the SNAP programs. You see how many white people now are on welfare. So all this mythical stuff about black people being on welfare, oh, it's the blacks, it's the blacks, it's the blacks. Now you're seeing the real America, that it's not only black people on welfare, that there are a lot of white people on welfare also. There are a lot of white people, a lot of poor people living in those red states, and those red states that voted for Trump are now getting hit hard.
There are some people who think that my husband is racist because he worked for a certain channel. I'm gonna look in that camera right there and let everybody know my husband is not a racist.
Boom, and you will defend that.
Well, according to Tamera's husband, if you're on food stamps, you shouldn't be allowed to eat sweets. You shouldn't be allowed to eat chips or candy or anything like that. I don't understand why people are surprised. Like, that's the most white, wealthy man thing I've heard since the president got elected, and it makes sense. Because you saw something when you were growing up, you feel the need to tell people what they can and can't eat with their food stamps that they qualified for. That sounds about white to me. And what got it for me was the sob story. Like, he was like, oh, I used to be in the grocery stores and I just used to clutch my pearls when I saw people getting a bunch of junk food with their food stamps and then go back in and then buy alcohol with cash. Like, so what? If that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. If I come across somebody that's using food stamps and they decide they want honey buns for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that's what they want to eat. It's not affecting me. Literally, the term "what you eat don't make me shit," that's exactly what that means. I try to stay out of sibling business or whatever, but I have a strong feeling that the reason why Tia and Tamera don't talk anymore is because Tamera married a conservative, racist, Republican white man. That can ruin any relationship if you ask me. Like, honestly, with what he said about Trayvon Martin and the crap that he's talking about now, like, I don't even see how Tamera saw that and was like, yeah, this is the one for me. Knowing that you are a black woman, you have a black family, and I don't know. I don't know how you can see that and decide, like, yeah, this is the man I want to spend my life with.
What if Tamera actually agrees with her husband? And because they have pillow talk and they discuss these topics and she agrees with him, as a black woman, that is why he feels so comfortable coming online and being so ignorant. What if her sister also peeped game and she distanced herself from them because they're both ignorant? I know we want to save Tamera, but you know the song that goes, don't save her, she don't want to be saved. This, I believe, is a situation where that song would apply. I do not think that Tamera has been with this man for however many years. They have their children, they're married. I just don't believe that he has these thoughts and he's never shared those with the black women that he lays down with every single night. Even after sharing these opinions with her, I don't believe that he would want to be with somebody who doesn't share the same values and opinions as he does. And the same could be said for Tamera. So with that, I think that he is the mouthpiece and Tamera feels exactly how he feels. And hey, don't save her. Let her be with her husband. Let her be over there. Okay? Don't let her go. We can't save them all. We can't.
I knew it when him and Tamera was gaslighting us on the real. It was like, oh my, he just works for Fox News. You know, it doesn't mean anything. They call me the white man. And I really don't want to be that person to come after somebody for their husband's, the way their husband thinks, but clearly she agrees with something along the lines of it if she married him. But she tried to gaslight us on the real and be, oh my God, Adam's such a great guy and Adam is... No.
So they don't want people to buy junk food with their food stamps, but they still not letting people get prepared food. So what if a person is really struggling and they can't afford to pay their electric bill or their gas bill and all they can eat is a rotisserie chicken and some macaroni salad? If you're going to take something away, give them something. You know, people with food stamps, they still got to go to work. They still got terrible managers. They still got to deal with customers. They still got to deal with people getting on their nerves. Sometimes the only thing that's stopping them from not punching somebody in the face is that ice cream that's in the freezer when they get home. Don't take away people's little pleasures. Remember when Nicki Minaj said broke people should never laugh? The problem is some of y'all took that actually seriously and have taken it one step further. You don't want broke people to enjoy anything. You don't want them to have any junk food. You don't want them to have any extracurricular activities. And you don't want them to ever seem like they are an equal to you, somebody that is not considered broke. But in this economy, in some way, everybody is broke. Even rich people are broke. Why is the junk food allowed? Why is the junk food so junky? What's the actual issue here?
I do not care if you are trying to buy Doritos or quinoa with your food stamps. Do what you do, okay? Hope this helps. Love you. Bye.
To the other spot where I live in Napa. It's a sundown town. And Adam Housley talking about people going to his convenience. I live in Napa. It's a sundown town. And Adam Housley talking about people going to his convenience store. It wasn't a grocery store back then. They had canned goods, junk food, beer, and alcohol. It has grown a lot. But he made his wife pay for the whole wedding.
Why is it that we feel the need to police and punish people that have less than us? What's that about? I was reading up on this latest change that's supposed to be being made to food stamps, or they're trying to make to food stamps, about not being able to buy like snacks or junk food on your food stamps. Why? Why does it matter? And why do we feel like because you're in a situation where you need help, you can't have a luxury? What is that about? Like, already people have to go and seek help because they're not able to meet a basic necessity. They're not able to get food. They need help having food. And now you're saying, well, because you need my help having food, I'm going to tell you what food you can have. Not like there are already not certain things that you can't get on food stamps. Like, you can't get like certain prepared foods, and you can't get any hot foods, to my understanding, on food stamps. So you're already saying you don't deserve convenience, but now you're saying that I can't have a little sweet because people are on food stamps. They can't have a candy bar. They don't deserve that. Meanwhile, the majority of people that are on food stamps that qualify for food stamps are the lower class, working class. People that work can't get a donut. It's like consistently a need to humiliate people for having less than you. I don't understand that. Or to prove that you have to be uncomfortable because you're in a situation that anybody these days can be in, because most people are 1 to 2 checks away from being in the same predicament. And then to the people that are making the argument, well, the majority of people that are overweight are people that will qualify for food stamps. Look in the White House. Thank you. Good night, y'all. Okay, so very quickly, I want to respond to this comment, but I also want to give a disclaimer. If I ever choose to respond to your comment, I promise I'm just opening the door for dialogue. I'm a person who likes to hear other people's perspectives, and I eventually want my platform to be a safe space for us to like talk about these issues and come to a middle ground, right? So please be respectful in the comments, and please don't think that anyone is attacking you. If someone is attacking you and I see it, I will try my best to address it, but again, I will have to see it. So Aquarian Queen wrote in her comment, I get what you're saying, but we have too many people on food stamps / welfare that are literally taking advantage of the system for the wrong reasons and don't want to work. Feed the kids food, not junk. So I went ahead and did a little research. As I said in my first video, to qualify for food stamps is actually quite difficult. It's not really like an easy task. There are about 34 states who have waived the work requirement for food stamps. And that is unfortunate. But with them waiving the work requirement, there is often a caveat. So like if they waive the work requirement, you have to be a student and you have to be doing work study or doing something like that is self-employed, that sort of thing. So it's not just like you can kind of not be working, and also not be unhoused or not be homeless in majority of the states. I also want to add that when I was researching in 2023, I came across the numbers for food stamps. So there were about 40 million people, 40 plus million people on food stamps. And this is in 2023. And about 20 million homes, right? In the first quarter of 2024, there were 177 cases of fraud reported. So this includes people that are literally falsely qualifying themselves for food stamps or committing fraud, like food stamp fraud, which means that you're selling your food stamps like for cash. But the majority of those cases actually came from stores defrauding their customers, so stealing their food stamp information, or unfortunately, lawmakers or policymakers, congresspeople, however you want to refer to them, stealing food stamp funding from their states, or literally people that work in welfare offices stealing food stamps. One of the most recent cases was a lady who managed to steal like $30 million in food stamps by sending multiple food stamp cards to herself, and she worked at a local welfare office for years. Anyways, I say all that to say, majority of the people on food stamps need help. And unfortunately, majority of the people who steal food stamps are not the people that are getting food stamps. So I think it's dangerous, and I think we have to be careful how we allow these narratives to be pushed onto us and how we allow things to be repeated. I've seen a lot of people saying over half the people on food stamps shouldn't be on food stamps. It is really dangerous to assume that 20 million people are not having an issue maintaining food for themselves. That's really dangerous. So I'm sorry that at some point you needed these systems and you didn't qualify, but unfortunately, it's not because majority of people are stealing food stamps. It's literally probably because you didn't qualify. And I get it, girl. My mom never got food stamps. Like, she never qualified, and she was a single mom, and she was a teacher, so she didn't make anything. But it's just hard to qualify, and it should be, because we do need to make sure that people are not just defrauding the system. But it's not because the funding is being taken up by people who are committing fraud. And also, I don't even think that's really how food stamps work. In my research, I found that it's not like welfare where there's like a big waiting list. It's one of those things like you apply and either you get it or you don't. So I just wanted to address the comment. I'm going to address the second part of your comment in another video because I wanted to address another comment and make another point. So look out for that.
Let's face it, a lot of people always suspected that Tamera's husband was on some funny stuff. Now, I find it interesting that he decided that he wanted to add to the twin mess, okay? Because Tamera Mowry has been on here every single day, every other day, getting roasted about something. She divorced her husband. She graduated from her divorce, and now she is doing whatever she doing on TikTok. Allegedly, she trying to patch things back up with him. We don't know. Just a mess. And everybody was going in on Tia, letting Tia know, like, probably should have thought that through. But, it's too late. So, yeah. And then here comes Tamera with her slew-footed husband saying this stuff. And it would have only been cool for him to say if he actually had that experience. He don't know nothing about food stamps. Nothing at all about food stamps. Me personally, even though I don't receive them now, I don't care who receives them. Because guess what? They help. One. Two, it was like, a couple of years back when I worked on base. Do you know how many military families are receiving food stamps in WIC? A lot. Why? Because a lot of times when people first enter the military, their rank is pretty low. Okay, and they go up in rank, but in the meantime, they're receiving food stamps. Okay, so I don't know what information he's getting. Eggs are about $700 a pack for 3. Okay, they don't even sell 12 anymore. Okay, and he's sitting here talking about what people spend their food stamps on, like he know anything about it. Now, if he talking about how they used to walk out and stuff, that's like when coupons was paper, wasn't it? Not him aging himself out. Sir, please stop. I think you should sit this one out. You already work on Fox News, so that gives a lot of people the side eye on you anyway. And this is this is not gonna help Tamera. They didn't already went on Tia to just throw the whole sister away at this point. We are tired. My personal opinion, though, I people who are on food stamps, they're gonna get whatever they can afford, and they're gonna get whatever they want. I've seen people purchase junk food with food stamps, and I've seen people purchase healthy food with food stamps. And then it's just what it is. It's people's preference. It's what they decide to eat. But let's say you have a kid, because I know people who have children who has diabetes, and they need a piece of candy or some sugar and stuff. Oh, can't get it with the food. What? My personal opinion, I highly doubt that this law is going to pass. They've been talking about this for some time. I believe when Trump was in office prior, he was trying to do it to where people would got like those meal meals, like the, what are them meal meals? Factor and stuff like that. They got a couple of other ones just other than Factor. They got a couple of other meals that you can order online and they bring them to your door. But he was trying to do that, and he was trying to get the option of that before for eating healthy, and it fell through, or something didn't work, or something happened one way or another with it, and it just fell through. But for him to just come on the internet and just lie like he ever received or was around anybody with food stamps in Napa Valley is wild. And it is what it is at this point. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this mess in the comments.
We in a no hyena zone. Anti-hyena zone.